What would have happened if approval voting had been used to elect the president in 2016? Is there any way to answer such a question? It turns out that some surveys were done in 2016 that give us a data-driven way of answering that question. This video will explain how we know that. First, let's review what actually happened under the current voting method. In most states, 4 candidates were listed on the ballot, representing the Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, and Greens. This chart shows the results of the popular vote. As you can see, Hillary Clinton got the most votes, but still did not have above 50%. The Libertarians got more votes than ever, and the Greens got a substantial number. However, the U.S. Constitution specifies that the president is not elected by the popular vote, but by the results of the Electoral College. This is how the Electoral College vote ended up. So it could be argued that the Electoral College was the reason why Trump was elected. However, in this video, we're going to explore an earlier reason, the Republican primary. The Republicans started to choose their representative in April 2015. Eventually, 17 candidates would announce that they are running, and the nomination would be given to the one that got the most number of delegates in a series of elections in various states. Voters would be required to choose just one of the 17 candidates in each election. In addition to the state elections, the Wall Street Journal conducted polls almost every month, asking the Republicans, "Who are you going to vote for?" This bar chart is going to show the results of that poll as the months went by. We start in May 2015, and already 14 candidates are in the race. The leader is Jeb Bush, with 23% of the Republicans saying they will vote for him. Marco Rubio is second with 18% of the vote. By June 2015, Trump had joined the place and was in 9th place with 4% of the Republicans saying they would vote for him. There were 14 candidates at this time. By July 2015, Jeb Bush began to fade and Trump took the lead. But with 14 candidates, the lead went to the person that could get 19% of the vote. That means that 81% of Republicans would rather vote for one of the other candidates. By October 2015, Ben Carson had moved into the lead, 26% to Trump's 24%. 6 of the candidates had decided they could not compete and had dropped out of the race. By January 2016, Trump was the leader with 33% of the voters. That still means that 67% of the voters would prefer one of the other candidates. By February 2016, 11 more candidates had dropped out. Ted Cruz moved into the lead with 28%. By March 2016, former frontrunners Bush and Carson dropped out. Trump kept the lead with 30%. Then in mid-March, former frontrunner Marco Rubio dropped out and left 3 candidates in the race. Trump secured the Republican nomination, even though 60% of the Republicans preferred one of the other candidates. And that's the story of how Trump got the nomination under our current Choose One voting rules. Fortunately, the Wall Street Journal asked a second question. The question was, who could you support? This is extremely similar to the question, who do you approve of? Which is how approval voting elections are handled. Furthermore, the Republicans were allowed to answer this question with as many candidates as they wanted, which is also the way approval voting works. The next bar chart shows the results of those polls. We began in March 2015 when 14 candidates had already entered the race. At that time, Rubio was in first place with 56% of Republicans approving of him. Trump was in 12th place with 23% of Republicans approving of him. 3 more candidates would announce their candidacy in the coming months. They show with 0 approval at this time. During the month of March, Rubio and Bush gained in approval, while Trump went from 12th place to 11th place. By June, 17 candidates had entered the race, and Rubio was still in first place. Trump was in 10th place. By September, Carson had overtaken Rubio for first place. Carly Fiorina was in 3rd, and Trump was in 4th. By January 2016, Cruz had moved ahead of Rubio, and Trump was in 3rd place. Many candidates would drop out during this month because they were not viable under the Choose One voting method. Rubio, Cruz, and Carson were in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, while Trump took 4th. During the month of March, Rubio dropped out, and Kasich made a big advance. In April, it was time to select the Republican nominee. Under approval voting, Cruz was in 1st, and Kasich and Trump tied for 2nd. However, the election was conducted using the Choose One voting method. Trump became the Republican nominee, even though he was never first in the number of people that would support or approve of him. In summary, here's a comparison of the data from the last week of Choose One voting and the last week of approval voting. As a general rule, approval voting tends to promote consensus candidates, while Choose One voting tends to promote vocal minorities. This analysis was done with the data from the Republican primary. The same effect happens in the Democratic Party. This is not a partisan video. As a general rule, watch out for primaries. They tend to have many people running, and the person selected by the primary is often not the one with the most support. The credits below have links to the survey data used in this video. The Center for Election Science has lots of information on every aspect of voting. Visit their website at electionscience.org. If you would like to help bring approval voting to California, visit californiaapproves.org. If you don't live in California, check with electionscience.org. There are approval voting chapters in most of the states of the Union. This is your narrator, Jeff Justice, saying goodbye until the next video.